The Republican Party may have lost one of the last people that kept them relevant. The pollster Frank Luntz, who does all of their messaging for them. So, for example, what he'll do is he tests words with focus groups. And so, like, for example, back in the day, capitalism might have been viewed as a very positive word overall. So we would tell the Republicans, hey, keep using this word, in your speeches and whatnot, because it polls well and the American people like hearing it. And then eventually capitalism stopped polling well. And then they moved to the free market. And then that polled well for a while, and that stopped polling well, and then they had to move it to free enterprise. And then he always comes up with the new terms to describe the same policies. So they might have called it deregulation back in the day because that had a positive connotation, and then eventually people stopped liking that, and they had to change it to lessen burdensome regulations or whatever. This is what this guy did. He found a way to message things in an Orwellian way that would actually frame something to sound good, even if it's something that the American people aren't in favor of. Well, according to The Atlantic, he sunk into a depression after Obama won the 2012 election. He said, quote, "I'm not good enough, and I hate that. I have come to the extent of my capabilities, and this is not false modesty. I think I'm pretty good, but not good enough." So he realized that he couldn't win the election for the Republicans, and this got to him. He said, quote, "The old Frank Luntz was sure he could invent slogans to sell the righteous conservative path of personal responsibility and free markets to anyone. The new Frank Luntz fears that is no longer the case, and it's driving him crazy." That was from The Atlantic about him. So Luntz is now considering breaking into Hollywood as a consultant, and he's no longer working on any existing political contracts, and he's submitted a couple pitches to different studios in Hollywood already. So he's done. He's done with politics, at least for now. I don't know if he'll come back. He might come back eventually. But understand, this hurts the Republicans. Believe me. Other places aren't talking about this much because they might not know the ins and outs of this. But Frank Luntz really is, and this is the dirty little secret, and nobody should tell Frank this, he is good enough. Okay? And let me explain what I mean by that. The Republican Party, if you look at their ideas, okay, and you poll the American people, do you like this policy, that policy, that policy, that policy down the line? The American people hate almost every Republican policy. Almost every one. Seriously, we've read the polls on this show, whether it comes to the minimum wage, wars, bailouts. You go down the list of the different policies that the progressives are in favor of. The American people want those. They want those. Whether or not they realize it, they might not describe themselves as "I'm a progressive," but they actually like the progressive policies. They hate the conservative policies. So, with that being the case, how is it that the Republican Party always gets, 47%, 48% of the population to vote for them at least? No. See, that shows you something. That shows you, here's a guy who could take an idea that's 20% popular and make 47 or 48% of the population vote for them, for the people pushing that idea. That's a fucking talent, man. And he also tells the conservatives the strategy on how to talk about the things. You repeat it over and over and over and over and over and over, and then eventually it even seeps its way into even on CNN and MSNBC, and they use the Republican framing of certain issues. And it really helps the Republican Party. So it's not, he might think that, it's all my fault, but no, dude, the problem is the Republicans are so bad at what you want them to do, and their ideas are just so horrific that you couldn't take the 20% popular idea and put it over 50%. You got it to 47% or 48%, but not 51%. So this really deals a big blow to the Republicans, and they might not even realize it. But also, I should say, with him gone, there is only one thing propping up the Republican Party, and you probably already know what it is. The massive amounts of corporate money they get and Wall Street money they get. The rich love the Republicans. They'll always love the Republicans because they own that party. If it wasn't for Frank Luntz and all of that tremendous amount of money that's fed to the Republican Party, they would be wholly irrelevant.